Welcome to episode 47 of the Cohesive Home Podcast. Today, Kate and I are going to chat about something that's been on our hearts lately. What do we do in seasons of change? How do we deal with it? How do we roll with it? And how do we make it a positive thing in our life?
So as many of you know, Melissa recently moved to Fort Worth, and her family has been going through a lot of changes. And that's really what inspired this episode today. It's something that she and I have been talking about a lot on the phone, just when we're going through seasons of change and how that affects us, but more importantly, how we deal and cope as we move through it. And so we wanted to start off talking a little bit about what Melissa's been going through lately. So, Melissa.
Yes.
You made a major decision recently that I think is, honestly, I'm going to guess is probably going to surprise many of you listening.
Yes. If you follow my personal Instagram, you may have seen my post last week about putting my kids into public school. And after 3 years of homeschooling. And it was a very serious decision. It was a very hard decision. And it was something that obviously we did not take lightly. A little backstory was, we moved to Fort Worth. I was very gung-ho about my homeschooling this year. I thought, yes, this is going to be great. This is going to be the year we really conquer the dyslexia that my oldest had been diagnosed with this last summer. And, I was going to actually do math this year. I'm really bad about that. And we started, and I realized something was missing, and something very vital to I think the homeschool world, and that's community. And I had a lot of really awesome women reach out to me here in the Fort Worth area, and I will be eternally grateful to them. They reached out and they wanted me to join a local group, and I was really gung-ho about that too. But some things started kind of showing up within those first few weeks of school. I realized that my kids were not flourishing. And yes, we could join this group and we could see these people maybe twice a month, which would be awesome. And that would be a community. But it wasn't what we had back in our old town in Norman, Oklahoma. It wasn't this community base that we saw on multiple times a week. And so I started to notice that, okay, and maybe I'm not actually completely equipped to help my oldest daughter with her reading stuff, So anyway, Kate, you've already heard all of this, but for those of you listening, just know it was not an easy choice, but we looked into all of our options. We realized we were actually in a very good school district for public schools. And we decided to look into it. Really prayed about it. And an answer to prayer for me was that my oldest daughter, she has always been very against going to school. And she actually came to me and said, I think I want to try it. And so that was like the clincher for me. I said, okay, let's try. So last Tuesday, because Monday was a holiday, we took the dive, or we dove in, I should say that, and we started school. So it was a hard week, but a good week. There's some highs and lows, but all in all, it turned out pretty good. And actually, just tonight during dinner, they were talking about some really cool things that happened at school. There were some other things that happened during the week that I'm not going to talk about on here, but for the most part, it went really well. So what I talked to Kate about was something that dawned on me this week that I didn't really know existed within me. And that was this connection to being a homeschool mom as my identity. And realizing that I had for so long, for the last 3 years, connected with other homeschool moms, that I had almost completely shut out moms that didn't homeschool. Because, my community, my people, there are these women that homeschool, which is so awesome. So awesome. I was so lucky and thankful to have that. But I wanted to come on to the podcast and really put a voice to this feeling that I've had. And I know, Kate, you can help me to articulate this, because I'm really bad at articulating these things sometimes. But, I really felt my identity in that. And whenever that was taken away from me pretty suddenly, I don't know, I had this feeling of loneliness, of kind of isolation, floating, not really knowing where I fit in, and really having to kind of start over, knowing that I'm still going to always have these friends that homeschool, and I will always be able to chat with them and talk to them and have that, that community aspect with them, because I've been there. But I don't know, Kate, what advice would you give someone like me? You're so
goodness.
good at this. Okay, that was
That's so much pressure.
That was some unloading right there, guys. I hope you were ready for that. We probably should have.
It was like 2 minutes into the podcast. You know what, though? It was great because it was so real. And I think there's going to be so many people that can relate to what you're feeling. Mm-hmm. And I think what you're really struggling with is how being a homeschooling mother was part of your identity. Mm-hmm. And it was also part of your values, right? Like that was the way that you viewed education for your children. It was something that was important to your whole family. And it was so for 3 years. And so how do you move forward? How do you, figure out who you are as an individual separate from the way your kids are educated?
Right.
And so for you, that means you've been doing some soul searching about, okay, now that my kids are in school, mm-hmm. what am I called to do as Melissa and not just as mom?
Right. Yeah, not just as mom, not just as educator, because for a long time, those 3 years, I thought, okay, my calling right now is to be mom and educator and chauffeur and chef and all the things, which I still am. Our philosophy and our view of education has not changed, so we will mm-hmm. still be very diligent at home with certain things. But yeah, I think that's part of what I was struggling with this last week, was kind of almost being mad at myself for neglecting these other amazing women, maybe like on Instagram or even in my, just circles. But I will say it was hard. I mean, I guess I'm just talking about social media really, because in my personal circles, I didn't really know anybody that had their kids in school. So
yeah, well, I mean, I think if you're talking about in real life, mm-hmm. it's really hard to connect. I mean, unless your kids are in school, right? Like if your kids are in school, you're connecting with parents mm-hmm. whose kids are also at the same school. If you're homeschooling, you're connecting with other homeschooling families, and it's really hard to cross-pollinate unless you have some third place, like a church, right? Or some other social group where you can meet and connect in a time outside of the school day.
Right. So that's actually what by the end of the week, after a couple breakdowns and, soul searching, I was like, okay, what am I going to do for myself? I really haven't had, to be quite honest, it's a luxury. It is an absolute luxury, and I am very well aware of that. And I decided to start going to some yoga classes. So I actually I started on Thursday. I went Thursday and Friday and did some yoga. Actually met some really cool moms, and it was nice. It was really nice to have conversations with people that didn't pertain to even, education. Let's just be honest. That has been my life for so long. Yeah. And so, I know that there's other moms out there. I've actually had quite a few people reach out to me and tell me that they they too have made that jump from homeschooling to putting their kids in school, whether it's private or public. And I kind of wonder, like, how did they deal with it? You know, I didn't know that they did that. You know, they were quiet about it. It was kind of a silent transition. And so I almost kind of just didn't want to be silent about it. I wanted to put a voice to it and let people know that, I don't know. I don't know. What do I want to let people know, Kate?
Well, I mean, I do have a question for you.
Oh, please. I feel like I'm rambling.
And this is going to probably make you feel really vulnerable, but I think this is probably what people want to hear is, you know, do you feel like you failed in any way because you gave up homeschooling, right? Was that a feeling that maybe stopped you other times from putting the kids in public school because you didn't want to fail the homeschooling journey?
Right. Well, those of you familiar with the Enneagram, I am a 7, and I'm a very, very, very good 7. So stuff like this, I am open. I'm an open book. It is not, it's something that I definitely cried about. I definitely had moments there the days before we made the final decision. I cried to Brandon. I'm like, I feel like a failure either way.
Yeah.
No matter what choice I made, I was going to be a failure. Whether I put them in school or kept them home, I wasn't doing them good either way. But I really think that through prayer, because I am a Christian, and so through that and just, I don't know, God gave me a lot of peace about it, which is really hard because it was not an easy decision, but it's definitely through the week it's gotten better and better, and just seeing my kids' reaction has really helped. So I'm not feeling necessarily like a failure anymore. I think it was the right choice, and that has been confirmed. It's not perfect. It was definitely not perfect, and there's definitely things that I don't like about the educational system in which they're in, but it's still the best choice for us right now. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and you know, I think we talked about too that it's not a failure when you as the parent discern that there needs to be a change and you call on your own wisdom to help guide that change. Like there's no failure in that. You've just, you know, realized that path has ended and it's time to hop on a new one because your children's best interests are what are laid on your heart. Right. Whatever that is, whether it's homeschool or public or private, like you're just trying to do what's best for them. And so I'm really proud of you because it was scary, you know, to answer that call, but you did. And I think the kids are going to really flourish.
Yeah. Well, my oldest is finally making friends. Like,
oh,
I'm going to cry right now.
That's huge. That's huge.
It's huge. It's huge. It's really good. So,
yeah. Oh.
Anyway, so I don't think I've ever cried on the podcast before. This is a first. It's funny.
Well, what episode 47?
Yeah, 47. It's 47 in. So I may be an Enneagram 7. So I feel my emotions, and then let's move on.
There you go.
Oh my goodness. Okay,
Changing the subject. No.
Yeah. So let's go to you, Kate. You know that you have also had some things that came up. It wasn't necessarily change, but it was something that forced you to kind of duck and dive and roll, and you know,
switch things up
and be I don't know, flexible, right? So do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had intended to launch my new podcast, Streamlined Motherhood, as well as the website this past Wednesday. So today is September 8th, was the day that we're recording. And so I was going to put everything out on the 5th. And then I found out the weekend before that my grandfather had passed away. And it just... you know, as often we are, like I was just totally taken by surprise. And so I kind of put everything on hold, and I jumped in the truck with the kids and drove from Massachusetts to Indiana, which was totally crazy because I was very tired. I was stressed, but I also, I was telling Kirk, my husband, that I really found this well of strength inside of me. It's, I'm almost 34, and I feel like being a mother has strengthened me in ways that I just couldn't have ever imagined, right? Like the things that I never thought I could have done before, like drive 2 days with 3 little kids, right? I did it, and I was able to do it. But all of that meant was, having to make some hard decisions about launching this business that I am so excited about, right? And I have, set things up. I'm collaborating with different people. And so, having to write those emails and say, hey, I'm so sorry, I'm having to push this back. But in all actuality, family comes first. And it was so important to me to be home with my mother, with my whole family, but really to help support my mom and just be there for the funeral and be there for everyone. And so, so everything's getting pushed back now until September 18th is when the new launch will happen.
It's going to be awesome, guys. It's so good. It's so good.
I'm so scared.
So excited for you.
Now, Thank you.
So, when you texted me and said that you were driving and the kids were with you and just you text me everything and I'm like, what? Wait, what? You're doing what? And obviously Kurt couldn't come with you, and I was almost stressed for you, to be quite honest. So my question is, I know that you've already been doing such a good job of juggling all of the things, your job and this new venture and being a mom and homeschooling and all of the things. How did you transition and without getting overly stressed, I guess? How did you juggle the change and then being there with your family and everything? How'd you do it, Kate? How?
Okay. I you know what? I wish I had some magical formula, but I don't. I got really stressed. I got really stressed to the point where I felt sick.
Oh.
And so that was not good. But some of the things that I had to do, I just ignored my email for about 4 or 5 days, so I teach online for university, and the classes started back up on Monday.
Yeah.
So I had hit the roads. I drove Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday my classes started back up, and then the funeral was Tuesday. So
okay, I didn't know that part. Oh man.
Yeah, girl. Yeah, dude. But you know what? It's like I said. So I put as much as I could on the back burner, and then I just took a couple of days off to be with family, knowing that I would have to deal with all of that. Right, eventually, because my job.
Yeah.
But it was so good. It was so good to just have that kind of that quiet and that peace that I needed. I needed to deal with everything. And so then Thursday and Friday, I felt ready, and that's when I started emailing people and just kind of getting caught back up. But no, we didn't homeschool this whole week. Yeah. Obviously, and thankfully, my kids are still little, so that I have a little bit more of a luxury, I think, with the homeschooling to take off
right
an entire week like that. But and so we just focused on family. So that's really no actual secret to it, just taking as much off my plate as I could.
Yeah. But I think that the key that anyone can take away from that is you value family, as do probably most everyone listening. That's the focus. You had to just, who cares about that stuff? It doesn't matter right now. And just focusing on that and focusing on your family and being present with them. And then you deal with everything else later. And that's okay. But I think that's a good takeaway. I like that.
Yeah. Well, and I think something to keep in mind, if you're dealing with something stressful, is that email is always going to be there. Social media will always be there, right? Like the internet, all of that. Like it's not really as necessary as we think it is. You know, I've also just completely been off of social media because I don't have the mental bandwidth to deal with it right now. Like it's a nice luxury, like a little extra little like brain candy when I, you know, but like it's just, you know, if you're going through something tough, you like, that's when you kind of hunker down and those things can wait.
Can I tell you something?
Please.
Speaking of social media, I know that you and I spoke about, you know, you being off and everything, and it dawned on me this last week. So I dove into this, you know, new reality for me of my kids being gone during the day and me being home. And I assumed that I would be able to put all this energy into my social media and into that aspect of my life. But something funny happened. As soon as my kids were at school and I came home, I found myself, I will say the first day I was on Instagram for maybe like an hour, and then I was like, I'm so bored right now. And so I was like, what else can I do? So I got off of there, and I literally was almost not on all week. Nothing pulled me to get on there. And I realized kind of a sad realization, and this is me being definitely vulnerable. I looked at social media during the day when I was homeschooling my kids because I was escaping. I was choosing to see these other things because I wanted to not do this other thing that I was supposed to be doing. And that is so sad. And I know there's other moms out there that do the exact same thing as I did. And I'm not saying I'm off of social media, but it felt good to not be drawn towards it. It felt good to like not need to do that. And then I obviously had the guilt of like, oh, I'm not on there. People don't know what I'm doing. That's so bad. And I'm like, nope, we're good. So I don't know. It's been a real eye-opening week, let me tell you.
Yeah, Melissa, I believe me, I totally get what you're saying. And I've found that the happier I've gotten with my life, like I love traveling. I love traveling full time. I love our little RV and being with my babies, and it's been so good. And so like the more I'm enjoying that, the less I've felt a need to escape into social media, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And so for me, like it's always kind of like a warning sign if I'm on my phone and my kids are like, mommy, like, and I'm like, no, just 1 minute, like, right?
Yeah,
like that's Stewie one
from mom, mommy, mom.
Oh gosh, all the time. And then the other one is when I notice my kids wanting to play with my phone more, like they're picking it up, and trying to break the code on it. It's like have it locked. And I'm like, I get really mad, and I'm like, why are they doing that? And I'm like, it's because they see me pick up my phone, I don't know, 100 times a day.
Yeah. Yep.
But I'm right. But like I'm not doing that as much as I used to when we were in our house, and I was just unhappy with everything, right? Everything in my life. It was a sign. It was a really major sign saying, hey, like you got to fix things.
Yeah.
Social media is not supposed to do that.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's like it should be fun and entertaining, and used as a tool for business. But oh my gosh, yeah, it was pretty eye-opening to realize, and kind of, it made me a little sad that I didn't have, the self-control to, I don't know, abstain from using it. I know we've had past episodes where we talk about that stuff, but.
Yeah. Well, and you had a flip phone for a while too.
I did. Actually, I was off of Instagram basically almost that entire time. That was so good for me. It was so good for me.
You were like such a snot about it. You're like, I don't know. I just, I'm not on Instagram. I've just got my flip phone.
I'm so pretentious. I'm sorry.
Yeah, pretentious. There you go. No, but it's like I know, I'm sorry, all of you listening. I know we are just like super off on a tangent right now.
We like rabbit holes.
Right. But I think this all ties in because, like, when we're going through seasons of change, right, we look for ways to escape, we look for ways to cope. And so, and I know for all of us, like, right, the phone it's just the easiest, most accessible way.
It is. It really is, because you get these dopamine highs. You see these pretty things, and you see stuff that you want to strive to either be, or you just like looking at fun stuff, or funny stuff or whatever. And you say it's nothing. It's nothing. It's just me looking at, Instagram or Facebook or whatever. But yeah, I mean, you and I had a long conversation even before all of this stuff happened about our use of social media and technology. So it's kind of funny how this last week has really spurred us to see that. I think the root of it, the root of why we are on it so much. And I think you nailed it when you said it's being unhappy is one of the main triggers.
Well, rabbit hole or not, I'm really glad that we went with this. I'm glad that we are being open and talking about our struggles. And so that makes me wonder, Melissa, what are you going to do now going forward? So if you're not feeling the temptation of social media, how are you going to use your days?
So that was actually one thing. Okay. And I know, Kate, you're more into is it Myers-Briggs, right? Myers-Briggs is kind of your thing.
Yeah, but not really. I don't know.
No.
I took that test like 4 years ago, but now I don't.
So for me, it like never made sense to me. I was always like, I don't know what letters I am.
Too many letters.
But
it's so confusing.
Yeah. But the Enneagram really, it resonated with me. And so, in being a 7, they call it when you integrate. I don't know why they call it that, but when you integrate, you become another number. Your arrow, like in the circle, my 7 will go more towards the healthy side of a 5. So when I am really content with my life, I'm more present, because that's one thing. 7s, we are just not present very often, which is another reason why I was probably in my phone. I like to just not be, I like to be thinking about other things.
Yeah.
But I don't, so to answer your question, I did a lot of soul searching last few days, and I really wanted to focus on how do I become that 5? How do I become content with where I'm at right now, and content with and present? How do I become present at all times, and really just live life now? And I listened to a girl actually on YouTube. I don't remember who it was, but she gave some really good advice. She said, pick 3 things that are going to define you, and try and focus on that. Be that person. Be those 3 things. And so for me, I'm going to be going to aromatherapy school next month. I was accepted, so I'll be doing that.
Woohoo!
And I'll be focusing on my young living and just aromatherapy in general. I also have my candles that I'm going to be relaunching pretty soon. I have all my stuff ordered. It's coming in. And I'm so excited because it's completely plant-based. And so I'll have that to try and launch that and get that off the ground. And then, like I said before, I'm focusing on just self-care and just yoga and getting some running in and just being healthy and focusing on that. So I'd like to do some YouTube and go that avenue, since you're doing your podcast.
Yeah,
I'd like
you
to
need
do it.
to.
I'd like to do some YouTube. So yeah, so that's kind of how I'm focusing on other things. And social media has its place. I'm definitely going to use social media. It is fun to connect with friends, but I think it's that draw to just pick it up for no apparent reason is what has subsided, and I hope that stays. So how about you?
Yeah. Well, I was just sitting here thinking how jealous I am that you have like full days to yourself.
I'm not
going to go cry now.
It's pretty awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I can't literally, I'm not going to look at another mom that stays home and go, oh yeah, it's hard, guys. Now I do miss my kids, but
Punch you.
after I know, please don't slap me. But after 3 years of homeschooling, I'm like, oh wow, it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
It is. It's nice to have some time on myself and just get to focus on my things without feeling like I am taking time away from them. I get to actually, like, guilt-free work. So
Yeah, that's
nice.
awesome. No, it's great.
Yeah.
It's great that you're going to have that better work-life balance. I know that's something that, I hope to get better at.
Yeah.
I'm trying, but
It's hard with littles, though.
it's so hard, the stage that I'm in. But
Yeah.
it's good too. Like I love where I'm at.
Yeah.
I really do. And I'm not just saying that. Like
No, I know.
I'm really happy with the ages of my kids and what I can accomplish with the time that I have.
Yeah. I know. I wish you accomplish a lot. I don't know how you do it. A superwoman.
No, no, not at all. I just,
Just
I don't know.
You don't sleep. I'm just kidding.
No,
you do.
oh my
You do. You
gosh.
sleep. I'm
Oh
kidding,
my
guys.
goodness.
She sleeps. Well,
I
but
do.
how
I
are
actually,
you?
yeah.
Well, so my question is kind of the same question you posed to me. However, with me, I have a consistent, consistent days now with my change. With
Yeah.
you, this was, an unfortunate event that happened that's thrust you into that different direction for a time being. However, how are you going to move forward with maybe not fully disconnecting from social media, but also, how do you see yourself moving forward?
Well, for starters, I just don't have a lot of time for social media, and I think that helps.
Yeah.
When I have so many things to do every day, it's just not as much of a temptation. So before all of this happened, my typical day would be I would have a photo edited and ready to go first thing in the morning, and I would post it before my kids even woke up.
Yeah.
And then I would try to do comments at the end of the day after they were in bed. I would respond to people, which, I can't really be super engaged, but that's what works best for my family. Yeah. And so then I fit in the other stuff just where I can, but I kind of have a pretty hard and fast rule that I don't work in front of my kids. I used to do that, and it wasn't pretty.
No, I remember.
Yeah, that was a really bad phase I was in. I was really drowning, and I somehow thought that would be the answer. Like, okay, I'm going to just work from home, and my kids will, like, play right next to me. But, like, that doesn't work.
No. Once they leave the cooing stage, you can't just sit them down and work next to them.
Yeah.
It's really hard. Yeah, I have a lot of guilt over the last 10 years of my kid's life, filling my brain with other things. And, because let's just be honest, being a mom is the best thing on earth. Like, literally, like, I actually feel bad for men that they can't be moms because it is the most fulfilling. However, it's also sometimes the most draining. And sometimes you do just want to escape, and you don't want to deal with the dishes that are in the sink and all those things. So yeah, I know.
Well,
those seasons are not fun, but I'm glad we're both on a new path, right?
Yeah. Well, and what I was going to say too about, like, for moms that are kind of in a similar situation to me, like, you're working and you've got side businesses and projects and you've got kids, maybe you don't have as much time for diversions or distractions, right? Like, you're just trying to keep your head above water, but you're doing good work, and to keep going and keep knowing that, like, what you're doing is helping your family. Even if it feels like you're having a hard time getting through the day, you are still helping your family.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's what I need to hear.
And
Like, that I'm still a good mom, even though I work from home.
well, and if anybody wants to continue to have that encouragement, they need to listen to the Streamlined Motherhood podcast. It comes out next week. Ding.
Thanks, girl. That was a really great plug. I really appreciate that.
It's shameless. I'm telling you guys, it's so good. I have gotten sneak peeks, and it's awesome. So I highly encourage any mom out there listening, you got to check out her podcast when it comes out. And we'll let you know all about it on our Instagram and stuff like that. So, Kate.
All right. Well,
thank
you.
Yeah, this has been we unpacked a lot of stuff on this one, guys. Hope you're still with us.
Oh my goodness. Thanks for joining us on the counselor's couch, because that's it felt like a therapy session.
Oh my gosh, it did. I feel so much lighter.
Do you feel better?
I do. I really do. I really do.
I'll see you in a week. I'll see you.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, Counselor Kate.
Oh my goodness. Well, we hope that this episode in some kind of way was encouraging to you, because we know that we all go through crazy changes in our lives that we cannot control. But just know that there's seasons of busy and then there's seasons of calm. And so you'll enter that season of calm again soon.
Yes. And if you're out there and you are struggling with a decision, whether that's to put your kids in school or to take them out of school and homeschool or just anything, just trust your gut. Just know that you are a good mom and that you and your spouse are going to make the best decision for your kids. And your kids are resilient and it's going to be okay.
Thank you so much for listening to the Cohesive Home Podcast. We'll see you next time.